Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Torraine Walker TV. King Randall is the founder of the Boys Life Preparatory School in Albany, Georgia. The mission of the school is improving the educational and socioeconomic outcomes of Black boys, and it's recently faced a political hurdle when members of the Albany City Council denied their request to expand the facilities. I wanted to talk to King Randall about this issue and the challenges of creating programs for Black boys. So, King Randall, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, sir. How you doing?
Doing well, brother, man. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak with me about this. So, yeah, I saw your video that you mentioned on Twitter about some of the challenges you've been facing dealing with the Albany City Council. So, take me through what you've been dealing with the past couple of days.
Well, our county commission, so we have the city and the county. We're trying to expand our facilities out into the county area of our hometown of Albany, Georgia. And we were trying to put basically like a rec facility out in the south side of Albany, where the children are underprivileged and they don't have any activities or anything to do out there. And that kind of frustrates me. Those kids, actually do want help. And I've serviced those children in that area before, but we're not always able to go into their neighborhoods or go to their home, etc., because they are a bit ways away from where we operate currently. So we were trying to do a project that I hadn't mentioned to the public yet, but we were trying to do a project to expand our facilities out to help those children out there in that neighborhood. And we had a lot of I'm not going to say a lot, maybe like 4 or 5 elderly people that were very opposed to us coming to that neighborhood. They were saying that we're going to bring crime and, the kids, we don't need to bring children out there, and I can help children in other places, but not in their neighborhood. They said they're going to be scared to walk down the street if we come over there or whatever. It was all these things. But they came to the county commission and said all these things, and they said we might be making fentanyl and cocaine and everything with the kids. And the county voted us down in a 4-3 denial. So it was 4 votes for no and 3 votes for yes. And the only 2 white men that sit on the board voted yes for the facility, and 1 Black man. But everybody else voted us no. But we are going to approach it again. We're going to try and get an appeal. But we are going to try and make sure we get that to happen, because we do need this facility. We come up with a new strategy for this. We're going to get the community involved this time. I was trying to go the peaceful route and, be nice about it and things, but I see that we're going to have to get the community at large involved to try and get this project brought out for those children, because those children matter, and not to say that, elderly people. Go ahead.
So you're saying that you're saying there were people in the community who were against having the facility put in their neighborhood. This wasn't the council. This was people in the neighborhood who were pushing back.
Yeah, the people in the neighborhood were pushing back, and because they pushed back, the county voted to deny it, even though I brought proof of the children that work out there. And mind you, this meeting was at Monday morning at 10 a.m. These kids are in school, their parents are at work, so it was like a little hard to even get people to want to come out, and miss work. But I didn't think that it was going to be that, crazy. I personally did think it may have gotten pushed through, simply because of the work we do and things like that. But they moved to deny it because the community members, only 4 of them came. There was a couple more than we had. And so now I just know I just got to get the community involved at large, get a petition done for it, and just make sure we approach it in a different manner this time. We're going to try and stay peaceful. But we're going to try and make sure this happens for these kids, because they're what matters. I'm not saying that elderly people don't, but those kids are what's going to take over that community in 5 to 10 years, and we have to train them.
Okay, so now take me through the work that you actually do with the Florida Boys School and how that pertains to the neighborhood you want to build in.
Sure. So right now, what we do, we work with children, teaching them how to work on cars, houses, like changing ceiling fans, changing toilets, changing brakes, changing oil. We teach them how to read. We also have a boarding school. This is one of 5 boarding schools in the whole country that's African American owned, and ours is the only one that is free of tuition. So we have the first free all boys boarding school in the country, and we're just trying to expand that, and we're making history. But we're trying to expand that and make these things happen in our hometown to try and better serve our children. And we just come to hurdles and roadblocks, with some of the older people in our community.
Have you dealt with some of these issues from the the Albany City Council before? Has there been pushback against what you're doing, and has there been like any sort of resistance to the school? And if there has been, why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, we dealt with pushback originally from the school system because we were actually trying to partner with the school system. We didn't want to come in seeming like competition or anything like that. We wanted to come in and, be a resource to them and help them with their children who may be having trouble in school and things like that. And we tried to purchase an old building that was up for demolition from the school system, and they were going to sell it to us, but under the conditions that they operate the curriculum. They wanted to have sole provision of the curriculum, and basically we told them no, like that's not what we're trying to do. We are trying to service our children in a different way, and because they wanted to have their hand in it, they didn't want us to sell us the building, and we got into a big thing with them about that about two years ago. So now we have our school now. But yeah, that's what we dealt with the school system, our Doherty County school system, a couple years ago.
Why do you think there was so much pushback? Why do you think that they were so adamant about having their hand in it, as you say, be able to control the direction of the school?
Well, mainly they mentioned, basically that we were going to be competition, and what they're teaching in school now is just completely different, from what I teach. And of course, they want to have their hand in it because they want to have a hand in, I guess, indoctrinating children. That's what I believe, wholeheartedly. The children aren't learning at school; they aren't reading, and how can they have this small school show up? The school system. How can they have us come in and having kids at our school knowing how to read and do all these things, and they're not doing it? So that's where I stand with that, and why they didn't want us in their neighborhood.
Do you think there might be a situation where some of the people who are in power in Albany have been there for a while and they feel like this might be a challenge to their authority just because of the fact that Albany is a smaller city? As a rule, smaller cities tend to have like this entrenched power structure. Do you think that you might be seen as a challenge and or as a potential threat?
Yeah, sure. Everybody in it's a small town, so all the figureheads in our hometown are in cahoots. They all, shake hands and rub elbows with each other. So of course, when I'm trying to push something through, I'm definitely knowing that there are other conversations going on behind the scenes. But that's come to be expected now with what I'm doing. But I definitely believe all of them are rubbing elbows and talking to each other or whatever. And that's kind of what happened last time.
Hmm. Um, you said that you said earlier, I looked at the video that you posted of the city council meeting, and you said that there were 4 or 5 people from the community elders who had an issue with the school. Have you had any sort of feedback from people who may be in favor of it or might not even be informed of what you do exactly? Do you think there might be a situation where the people who show up are taking messages back to the community and creating misinformation? What do you think?
Yeah, I know that's what's happening. I'm 100% sure that's what's happening, especially in that community out there in Southgate. They went out there and said, to the community, oh well, he's coming to do this and that or whatever like that, and we don't want that out here, etc. And some of those issues aren't valid because they are not truthful. They just kind of made up things that we're going to like. They came out there and was like, we don't know what he's coming to do. Truthfully, we just know what he's saying. I'm just like, I just showed you guys a full PowerPoint of what we've been doing in the city of Albany for the past 5 years. How don't you know what we're coming to do? And they said we might be making cocaine, fentanyl out there, because it's a private facility and they're not allowed in. I'm just like, nobody's allowed into any facility with children unless you have, unless you've registered or scheduled a tour or whatever. That's for safety reasons. I can't just let anybody in the school just because you want to come in. That's not how that works. So yeah, that's where we are. And I see one hostile texting right there on YouTube. Well, that's what we're going to try and make happen for the community. Whenever we get this next meeting to happen, for us to try and get the county to reapply. So according to our planning director, he was saying basically that we cannot come back and try and get it rezoned again unless we wait 12 months. However, he was saying the county can reapply on our behalf, but in their name, if I can come and present facts and evidence and things that weren't presented before, and if it's in the public's best interest. So that's the route we're gonna go, because the appeal route is gonna cost us money, a lot of money with lawyers, et cetera, versus just getting the community behind it and getting people to show up and show out for this to happen for these kids. I've seen them approve of alcohol licenses and all this other stuff in our hometown, but when it comes to helping kids, oh my God, all these questions, So
that's a point I want to raise. That's the point I want to raise too, because you said some of the people who showed up to the hearing said that y'all might be making fentanyl and cocaine. Was that actually said?
Yeah, it was on the video. I'm not sure if you actually watched the video, but the video on the Twitter, it has them saying it on the video. So he was just like, I don't know what they're doing in there. They be making fentanyl and cocaine in the science lab and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Well, let me ask you: do you think you could have done something a little bit differently as far as maybe presenting that plan to people in the neighborhood who may have had questions, or were they even vocal about the questions that you had, or did they even know?
Yes. So this is what happened. That was my intent. The neighborhood watch captain is the guy who went and said something about the fentanyl and cocaine. But I talked to him previously, and he and I were under the agreement that he was going to set up a neighborhood watch meeting for me to come talk to everyone in the neighborhood. Well, the people that come to the neighborhood watch meeting anyway. And so that was where I was going to sell them, because they were thinking, all this other stuff about what was going to happen with the facility. So, we're telling them that, for one, that's not what we're coming to do. We're coming to do this and that or whatever. And also we were going to tell them, like, the some of the issues they mentioned were litter and things like that. And I'm just like, well, we in our other neighborhoods that we operate in, we clean up litter, we cut lawns for free. And I told them, I'm like, you guys are an elderly neighborhood. I'm like, we'll come help you take your trash out, etc. Like, we believe in community. On top of that, I was just like going to offer them some cookies, such as like for when we have our outdoor field, we'll have a walking track around it. And, for those people who are out in the neighborhood, as long as they have a background check, we'll allow them to come walk on the walking track whenever they like, inside the fence. So that way they're not, feeling unsafe outside, or their subdivision sign actually sits on my property. It actually sits on my property, and it's not nice. It's not a nice sign. So we were like, we would build you guys a brand new nice sign with the waterfall and landscaping around, like just to give them, some cookies or whatever. But I called him like a day before the meeting, because he and I were supposed to connect so we could have this neighborhood watch meeting. Never happened. And I saw him that next day at the planning commission meeting, and I talked to him. I'm just like, I called you and stuff. I'm just like, how come you didn't, reach back out? I was trying to, speak with you all so you guys could know what we were doing. He was like, I don't want to talk to you. We don't want to talk to you at all, blah, 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 like that. I think somebody went and got in his ear, because we had made progress with trying to speak with them and talk to the community and stuff. But out of nowhere, he was like, I don't want to talk to you. So it kind of messed our plans up, because I originally did plan to go door to door and stuff. But this is what we're going to do now. What we're going to do now is we're going to go canvass the area, almost like a get out the vote campaign. But we're going to go canvass that whole neighborhood. It's about 200 houses out there. And we're going to knock on doors. We're going to do surveys and see how many children stay in the neighborhood, how many boys ages 11 to 17 live in the neighborhood who want help. And we're going to do a record of how many people say no and how many people say yes. And we're also going to, when we bring this to the commission, I am going to, put this flyer on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. We're going to try to get all the kids out that need it there. We're going to try to get people who are willing to come support this project at the commission meeting. And we're going to try to pack the room out. Like, we're going to, like, literally, I'm talking about, I want people standing out the door, can't even get in. Because if they do, hear that and see that, then they'd be apt to reapply for us again. And we make that vote happen for these kids, because that's what they need on that side of town. And honestly, if I have to go the civil unrest route, I will. Because it's just ridiculous how much you have to go through just to help kids. And honestly, if we have to say, well, we're not leaving until you guys approve of this, facility going out here for these kids because there's nowhere else for them to go out there. So we won't leave. And if you got to arrest me, then do so or whatever. But I'll be back after I leave the jail. So like it's ridiculous, but that's how far you got to go to help kids. It's a shame, but here we are.
Okay. Your school is focused on improving the lives of Black boys. How has that work been received locally and nationally? Because has it been difficult to get grants and funding from nonprofits and government agencies for programs centered on Black boys?
Not necessarily at all. I mean, I hadn't had any issue, with anybody helping us, work with the kids. It's usually just getting our faces in front of people and talking to the right people to help, give us funding and things like that. For example, this project we're working on, there's people behind it, trying to fund it for us because they love the work that we do. And everything we do at our school is free. So for us to have a free boarding school, we have to be, taking donations and stuff like that because we have to pay for haircuts, food, uniforms, boarding, light bills, internet, insurance, light bills at all the facilities, all that stuff. But we hadn't had any issue on that front. It's just more of the government side and trying to get people in these positions to approve of some of the things we're trying to get done.
Gotcha. There's a couple comments in here I want to post up. I'd love to get your thoughts on them. One from Dr. Charles Cole. Shout out to Dr. Cole. If you're selling death, you get love. If you're building knowledge of self, you get red tape. That's actually pretty heavy right there. I believe that's true. And another one from Duke CT. It's a shame that people are trying to hold you down while you're trying to help these kids. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a given when you're trying to do something right. And both of those comments, speaks volumes. It speaks to where we are. But that the community, the government benefits from the communities being in turmoil. People don't realize that they get more grants and more funding, et cetera. Even school systems, they get more funding for special ed kids. They get more funding for kids being labeled with these disorders that they probably don't have. They get more money for saying, oh, our community's poor and we live in a impoverished city. So you're like, oh, this city got this big grant and the city's still the same. And then, oh, they got these couple $1 million and the city's still the same. Like nothing ever changes. That is the point. They don't want it to change. They want to keep getting the grants. And what they do is they have nonprofits. Yes, they do. But they have found ways to build businesses, et cetera, to funnel all the money around to where it just goes in pockets. And it's legal. They're doing it legally. They are doing it legally. They have legal ways to make that happen by funneling it through this nonprofit, and this nonprofit pays this contractor, and this contractor gets paid by this person. This person owns that contract, and then it goes in their pockets. Like there's a way to do it. It is, and it is technically legal. But this is how they line their pockets. So,
one more question, another question I want to ask you because I'm curious about this myself. Like you said, I think it's very much true that there is sort of like an industry that focuses on complaint without real solution. And it sounds like what you're dealing with is people who are entrenched in the idea of pointing out issues in the community without any sort of real solution. What you're doing is actually building potential solutions and things that can maybe remedy some of these situations that we see in the Black community. Do you think there's some sort of hostility from people who are profiting from the complaint without any sort of building, and because you're actually building, that might be an issue as well?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we built we saw that. There's definitely and as a matter of fact, I want you to ask that question again so I can dig into it a little bit more. Can you ask that again?
Yeah, sure. Do you think some of the pushback that you're getting is from people who may be content with just complaining and pointing out the issues without any real building, and the fact that you're actually building something is making some people uncomfortable? You think that's a possibility?
Absolutely. And I want you to ask that again because it's that need to be said twice. So what's happening is when you're building something, and especially when I turned 21 and I went viral and all those things like that, the community members at large, they are now like, who is this kid in here doing all this stuff that I've been telling people that I was going to do for the last 60 years, the last 40, 30 years, and he out here actually doing it and making me look bad. That's the problem. It's making them look terrible. It's making the churches look bad, etc. All these people who got these piecemeal programs that I call, aren't making any actual change. It's just, it looks like change, or not even looks like change. It just looks like you're doing something for kids. Oh, he's working with kids. Oh, that's great. He's working with kids, but it's not doing any real work. It's not changing any mindsets. It's not better teaching the kids how to read or raising their grades or getting their mindsets in a different space, or keeping them away from their environments. All of it is piecemeal stuff. And that's what I was explaining, like, even to some of those guys out there in the neighborhood, when they were saying like, oh, what's a basketball court over there already? And, we have this one community center over there already. And I'm just like, you guys do realize that community center is an event center that people can rent out to do things. They're like, well, you can rent it out sometime to do stuff in there. I'm like, that is not how you change stuff. I'm like, I'm interested in actual change. Like, I'm not interested in piecemeal operations. I'm like, it's stuff that happens at that basketball court all the time. I'm like, because there's no supervision, no mentorship going on. Like, this needs to be happening for these kids. So it's just, it does show people up, but either show up or get out, and that's how it works. For me, with doing the work, you have to actually be doing work to get results, and they're not trying to get results. They're just continuing to say, oh, our city's in poverty and we work with at-risk kids. No, I eventually want our kids to not be at risk anymore. I want them to be smart. I want to be able to say, like, yes, our kids at our school, they have the highest grade percentages in the state, and our kids have never committed any crime, and they're doing, like, I want the good stats to start coming out, not just, oh, well, I'm King Randall and I'm working with 90% single mama boys, and they're coming to us not knowing how to read. And I have to keep saying these things, and I'm talking about how they're progressing, but I want to eventually get to a point where the kids that are coming are just already good kids, and we're just honing their skills, so, and honing them and making them better and giving them mentorship. So I'm not interested in seeing our communities continuing to be the same. I want the trajectories to start changing. That's why we're trying to expand so we could touch more children with what we're doing.
I want to move into a little bit deeper into the political side of this as well. In 2020, you were invited to the White House to meet President Trump. You received backlash for that, similar to what Killer Mike received when he invited Georgia Governor Brian Kemp to dialogue with him at his barbershop over in Edgewood at the Swag Shop. And also when Ice Cube reached out to both the Trump and Biden campaigns regarding the contract with Black Americans. Let me ask you, why did you go to meet with Trump, and why do you think there was so much hostility towards you because of that?
I mean, it was Trump, and I'm Black, and I'm supposed to think that any white politician, especially a Republican, is racist. And even if they are, like I've told people before, I'm interested in what we can get for our children, our students, because people talk about reparations all the time, and I'm just like, you can look at it how you want to, but if I can get these people to help me, with what we're doing for our kids, then see it as reparations, regardless. Like, we need to be getting the help, for our students. And I don't care what politician is in office. If Governor Kemp says, like he does, he supports our organization. If he says, hey, I want to help you guys with this, I'm going to allow him to help. If Donald Trump says, I want you to bring you guys to the White House and talk with you all, I'm going to go. If President Biden says, hey, King Randall, I like what you're doing, and we want to give, help you out with the kids or whatever, I'm going. If Warnock or whatever, anybody acts, any politician that's sitting in the seat that could potentially benefit us, I'm going. Like, that should be the going thing in the Black community. But it's like, we have to think away. But they definitely chastise me for that in our hometown. People like, why would you bring them kids to that White House and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, why not? Them kids had never been on a plane before. They'd never been in a super nice hotel before. Definitely hadn't been to the White House, so that's where we are.
Yeah, I want to stay on that a little bit, because I think there's something that a lot of our, some of our elders ironically have forgotten that, and a lot of people who are interested in politics are caught up in. I like to call it, the way Kendrick said, the Democrats and Republicans, where people get so entrenched in one side or the other.
I got to use that, the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Kendrick's line, not mine, from Hood Politics. But
okay.
But that's something that I see a lot of, man. It's like people get into these sides and they get into these silos and they get into these armed camps like they're in the military, and they won't even listen to either side to try to benefit even their own communities. And you see that a lot, to the point where if you even mention the name of a Trump or a Kemp, regardless of what their policies are, they automatically get on the war footing and on the other side for Biden. And historically, Black people who are actually doing the real work have known that they live in a society that's going to be pushing back against them any step of the way. But that is beside the point, because you go talk with anybody who's willing to give you any sort of concessions. I'm pretty sure Martin Luther King knew every time he went to see Johnson was thinking something negative about him when he went to go see him. But they weren't going up there to drink and be friends. They were trying to get policy done. And I think we've lost a lot.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to see. You have the Dr. Kings and the Fred Hamptons and all these people who linked up with people you think they shouldn't have been linking up with. But they got to get what they need for their community. So even if I have to take the whippings of the community or the chastisement of the community, sometimes they just don't know what's best for them. And as a leader, sometimes you have to make decisions that Gen Pop don't like. As the king, you have to make decisions that Gen Pop don't like, and it may benefit them in the end. I'm here to see the future, and not just look at right now what you think. I'm here to look at and lead, my community and my school and my students. So it's much less about what you guys think about what I'm doing. It's about what I believe can best benefit you and our children, whether you believe it or not.
2020 was also a very volatile election year. We're moving into another volatile election year. In the Black community, there's an aggressive emphasis on voting as a strategy. And while it has its purpose and while it has its place, there's other things that we can do. Do you think that emphasis may have overshadowed other forms of community work like yours?
During that time, I think that people who work in nonprofits, etc., I do believe that you need to be utilizing election time. You need to be utilizing election time because these politicians, they want pictures. They want publicity. They want to take pictures with the kids you're working with. They want to take pictures with you helping the elderly people at the nursing home. Like, they need these things. They need it for their campaigns. And that's when you use it to get publicity for your nonprofit. I don't care who you are. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. Reach out to their campaigns. Hey, we have such and such. We have this going on. We love for him to come visit. I don't care if you like him or not. They have eyeballs on them. People are watching them. They're going to post you on their social media accounts. They're going to utilize election time. And then on top of that, you can also see who's going to show up for you. That's who you can see who's going to show up for you. Reach out to those politicians, Democrat and Republican. See who actually shows up. Because people got mad at people, for coming to visit our program and things like that. And I'm like, well, I've invited everybody, and these are the only people that showed up. So I'm sorry that the Republicans showed up and the Democrats didn't. My bad. The only other Democrat that's ever reached out and, recognized our program to a minor point is John Ossoff. But other than that, like, that's it. You utilize election time. Utilize those politicians. That's what they're there for. They want your votes. They need you to vote. So have them come check you out. Have them give you the free publicity. You need it and they need it. Have them scratch your back and you scratch theirs. Like, you scratch your back and they scratch theirs. I mean, that's how that's going to work. But you utilize that time. I think that's a great time to try and market your program. I do believe that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of marketing, speaking of attention, you have a school again, focused on the better outcomes for Black boys. Something like that, but with the rate of success that you have, should be getting media attention nationally, if not internationally. And personally, I haven't seen as much as I've seen from some other programs. Do you think there's a reason for that, or do you think it's just because of lack of media concern or deliberate lack of media concern?
That's just I would say that's my fault, man. I get so busy sometimes, and that's why I've been working with my advisory board right now to help me develop a team for social media and help me develop a team to continue building on what we're doing, because people don't realize, like, when I've been doing all the posting and making all the videos and doing all the edits, etc., it gets so tiring trying to post on social media, edit everything, talk on social media, and work with the kids and fundraise and make sure this gets done and make sure that gets done. It becomes a lot. It does. And so sometimes I just don't feel like posting, or I don't feel like, talking about stuff because I'm tired. I'm busy. My brain is not working. I don't feel like tweeting today, like, because we're working with the kids all the time. I just don't feel like it. Like, so it's like now I'm building a team for that. So, in the next coming months, you're going to see a big explosion of us, coming back to social media, posting all the time, but it won't be me. I have a team for that now because it takes away so much brain power trying to work with the kids, post on social media, fundraise, etc. That's all my fault. We lost eyeballs to me and because of me, because I get tired. And not because I'm like being lazy or anything. I get overwhelmed. It gets overwhelming. People don't realize how much it takes to post on social. Like, people, they get to see the product. They get to scroll by. Oh, look, King got a little 1 minute video. Yeah, but then I had to record these different angles and record that angle and then edit the video for like an hour and put the captions on there and all that. Like, all of that for you to just see this one video. It took me like 4 hours. I'm tired. Like, I don't feel like posting, You're talking to a solopreneur videographer, brother. I know exactly what that's like, brother. It'll give you headaches. And I have to have a team for that.
I need to probably get some Advil stock so I know what you're talking about. First of all, one thing I will say, man, I got to commend you for taking responsibility for that and taking accountability. Normally, I think you might be the first person who I've asked a question like that who say, "Okay, it's on me. I got to do better." So I got much respect to you for mine for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's tie this up with this, man. What are your next steps? You talked about how you're going to broach the issue of getting zoning again. So what are the next steps, and how can people support you?
Sure. All right. So I'll go through that again for you. What we're going to do is go canvas that community out where we're trying to build at, because the way we tried to go the first time didn't work. So we're going to go canvas that community, knock on doors, see how many children actually live out there in that community, get them to sign a petition in support, get their addresses and phone numbers, get those people out to the actual commission meeting. And for those of you watching who don't mind traveling down to Albany, Georgia to come support that initiative, we'll be posting up, soon what we're going to be doing as far as making sure we have community support out there. Other than that, those are next steps for us, and that's I'm sure that is going to work because they were mainly concerned about the residents of the community wanting or not wanting something in their community. So we're going to make sure they know that the community does want that in their neighborhood, and we're going to do our own statistics and data to show that. And of course, you could always follow me at New Emerging King on all social media platforms. And you can visit us on our website at thexforboys.org. That's THEXFORBOYS.org.
All right, King Randall, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me about this, and best of luck with the zoning and everything in the build.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
All right, thank everybody for watching. Thank everybody for checking out Torraine Walker TV on this Wednesday afternoon. Everybody be safe, be good, stay connected.